Okay, gang, welcome back for number 2 on quadratic equations and completing the square. We're going to solve a quadratic equation by completing the square. Now, we did this earlier in the year and we had to do all this factoring and all that kind of stuff, which was a pain, and I know it made your brains pop. So this, I think, is a much easier way to figure out what the x would equal in a quadratic equation. All right, first, from the last video, can you remember the formula for completing the square? This is very important because you need it for our test and whatnot. So, give you 3 seconds. 2, 1, what is it? Well, we could say it's 1/2 the middle term squared. We can write it this way as well, the middle term divided by 2 squared. We can write it out. We could say 1/2 the middle term and squared. Okay, so that is our formula for the middle term. So we're going to need to do that. So we have this our first problem here, and we notice that we can go ahead and we can say what two numbers multiplied together equals 12, and then you add them would equal 8. Okay, if you look quickly here, you might think it might be a 6 and a 2. 6 plus 2 is 8. Okay, 6 times 2 is 12. All right, so you could probably figure that one out in your head really fast. But let's look at completing the term, because there will be some that are really hard we can't figure out in our head. So our first step is to make sure everything is on this side, which it is. Very good. If we had an 8x over here, we'd have to bring it back over here by adding or subtracting it and getting it on this side. If we had something in front of this guy, like a 4, we'd have to divide everything by 4 to get 1 in front of here. So that's very important. Okay, so number 1, everything on the left side. Number 2, x squared has to have a 1 in front of it. That has to be the coefficient in front has to be a 1. So we're good here. So step 1, what we do is we're going to have to take 12 from both sides. Subtract 12 from both sides. All right? And that is going to give us x squared plus 8x. I'm going to leave a blank there, equals negative 12. All right? So we're going to use our formula, and we're going to figure out what goes in this spot right there. All right? So we have 8. So if we go back up here and we see our middle term, we take our middle term, divide by 2, and then square it. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 times 4 is a positive 16. All right? So what we do on one side, we have to do on the other side. So we added 16 on this side. We're going to add 16 on this side. So what we do on one side, we have to do on the other side. All right? Let's go ahead and factor this now. Now we should be able to factor this, because what two numbers do we multiply together to get 16 that we add to get 8? Well, we just figured that out. We have x plus 4. That's our perfect square. Squared equals negative 12 plus 16. 16 minus 12 is 4. All right? So we have to factor this. We do have to factor that. And if you look on the assignments, I have a Word document that goes step by step through this. Make a copy of it, keep it next to you, and it's the same exact thing, only I'm telling you this time. So we have a square here. How can we cancel out the squares? Ready? You guys got this. 3, 2, 1. We're going to take the square root of both sides. All right? So they cancel out. So now we have x. I'm sorry. I lost my train of thought. So we have x plus 4 equals the square root of 4. Be very careful here. You might say 2, but you're half right. Remember, It's plus or minus 2. You have to do plus or minus 2. Because a negative 2 times a negative 2 squared is still 4. And 2 times 2 is 4. So it could be positive or negative 2. So now what we have here, all right, what do? We have to get rid of this to find out what x equals. All right, and we're going to come up with 2 answers because we have 2 answers over here. We have plus and minus 2. Plus and minus 2. All right, so we're gonna subtract 4 from this side, and we're going to subtract 4 from this side. So now x is going to equal 2 minus 4, positive 2 minus 4, or negative 2 minus 4. Oh, forgot the 2. Or we can say plus minus 4. All right, so x is equal to negative 2 or negative 6. And if you take negative 2 and put it back into this problem, we're going to see that it equals 0. If we take negative 6 and substitute it back into this, we're going to see that it equals 0. So it has 2 answers. So on your assignment, you'll have to give me 2 answers. And you could just say x equals negative 2 comma negative 6. That's fine. Well, let's look at another one real quick. All right, another one. What do you notice immediately about this one? Everything is on this side, which is okay, but we have a coefficient of 3. So what do we have to do first before we figure this out? We have to get rid of the 3. And coincidentally, all these are divisible by 3. So we divide that by 3, that by 3, that by 3, and that by 3. So we should have x squared plus 6x minus, let's see, 27 equals 0. All right. So everything's on that side. Good. What about x having a coefficient of 1? Yep, we're ready to go. So we're going to go ahead, step 1, x squared plus 6x. We're going to add 27 to both sides, so that's going to equal 27. Notice I just added 27 here and 27 there to get that. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take half of this and square it. So half of this and square it. I'm going to do it over here. So 1/2 of 6 squared is 3 squared, which is 9. So x squared plus 6x plus 9 equals, we have to add 9 to this side as well, 27 plus 9. All right, so what's a perfect square? What 2 numbers do we multiply to get 9 and you add them together to get 6? I think that would be 3. So x plus 3 squared equals 36. You notice 36 is a perfect square, so when we take the square root, we find that these guys cancel out. X plus 3 equals plus or minus 6. Don't forget the plus or minus. So we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. And so x is going to equal positive 6 minus 3 or negative 6. I'm going to do plus negative 3. Or minus 6, negative 6 minus 6, or minus 3, I'm sorry. Confusing myself. All right, so what do we got? X equals 3 or negative 9. There's our answer right there. Sorry for the mess ups, but you know I always do it. Write this down as we go. Watch it again. Write it down. Look at our step by step. Remember, this is a little different. We have the 3 here. And make sure everything is on one side equals 0. Those are the 2 first things we have to look at. I hope you got it, and text me, email me if you have any questions. Thank you.